Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis,
I'm Michael.
and we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on our show range from theology, masculinity, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people we admire and the wisdom that they share. People such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Michael, why are we here?
Today we are talking about Star Wars.
Star
The good,
Wars.
the bad, the ugly. Yes. Let's get into it. First off, let's talk a little bit about like our upbringing with Star Wars. You go ahead and start off us off there.
Well, if you're new to the show, we both grew up on a polygamous Mormon compound, which we call the ranch. And you guys can check out our intro video to look at that, get background on it. We've interviewed many people who are in Mormon polygamy or ex-Mormon polygamy. We grew up on this ranch, and there was a curated pop culture. They didn't allow us to really, I should say, just watch certain movies. Usually
we could watch movies, but we didn't have television.
Yeah, we didn't have television.
To know about the outside world was not really a thing. Like we just didn't really know what was going on in the outside world.
There was hardly ever politics was ever discussed. We didn't. And
if it was usually about like how evil everyone is and how the destruction needs to come and purge our nation. That was usually what we talked about.
We didn't get news. We didn't. So what we did do is we were allowed occasionally to rent a movie from the local. It wasn't Blockbuster, but it was something local.
And at the time, even our grocery store, the town that we were outside of town, but in town there was a grocery store that rented VHSs. So this is way back.
So Star Wars has been in our lives. I don't remember a time without Star Wars. I remember vaguely remembering. I vaguely remember the first time I saw Star Wars with our older brother Curtis, who's since passed away.
I don't even remember a first time. Like I do. It's just part of my memory.
It's part of your
growing up.
I do. I remember we had an uncle who would occasionally come with a RV, and in the RV he had a VHS TV setup, and I vaguely remember being on that RV and watching Star Wars for the first time. It's a we're
Vague
talking
memory.
We're talking 4, 5, somewhere around there. I was really, 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 really young. But from then on out, because I was like mesmerized by it, it was pretty much our mother used to record VHS tapes. And so she made one with all 3 of the movies. So this would have been the 80s. So I was born the year that the last original series came out, which is over 40 years ago. And so we only had those 3 movies for about 2 decades. And then in the 90s, would have been in the late 90s, 99, I think, is the first prequel. I hate the prequels. I know you.
I grew up on them, and so I liked them. Okay, and I feel like if you overlook some of the dumb things of like Jar Jar Binks and whiny Anakin, there are some good kind of solid story things that come out of the prequels that I feel like were very well captivating in the Clone Wars and Rebels, and subsequently
TV shows.
Rebels,
the TV shows,
the animated TV series. Yep. I really, really loved those. In fact, probably like I probably have a nostalgia for those as much as I do for the original stuff. One thing I wanted to point out in our growing up on a polygamous compound was that because of the way Star Wars was kind of built, the fact that it was like good versus evil, there was a sense that Mom was fine with us watching that because it was this, battle between good and evil. And she and I would say in her LDS upbringing, it fit so that was something that could be something that was totally fine with kind of being part of our lives.
Yeah.
Because of that kind of battle between good and evil. Which, interestingly enough, at the 2023 Star Wars convention, they had some actors talking about some of their series that are coming out, saying that it's not about good and evil, it's about the perspective.
And we have now seen the official death of Star Wars.
Death of Star Wars. I think that right there was just kind of like nail in the coffin.
Nail in the coffin.
There.
Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of checked out after the prequels were terrible. And then when the first Rey one, I don't know, that one's called The Force Awakens.
And this is where we get into the bait and switch of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disney bought Lucasfilm into 2012, right?
2012.
And then 3 years later. So, and we were talking about this a little bit, but basically it seems like they bought it and then right away got to making a movie. Like they just wanted to crank that stuff out and get a return on their investment ASAP.
They bought the rights. They bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion in 2012. I think if I had to guess that they've probably made back their money. But what also happened in the process is they probably, what's the best way to put this? Shit the bed in the process because they needed to get the return on their investment so quickly. So the deal finalizes in 2000, I think like October of 2012. And then no later than, it takes a year to make a movie, at least from start to finish. And that's not including the writing of it. They did it in 3 years. They had a movie out in 3 years, which means I think it was rushed. I think that's where
100%. And as the lore goes, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently George Lucas gave them an outline for, like, he had an outline ready for a script for the new series, for another series, right?
It makes you wonder what they could have done with it.
Oh, if we could have our hands on that. Oh, God on high, please allow somebody to leak that, because that would be.
It might.
Could you imagine?
It might be out there. We just haven't looked.
maybe it is. I don't know. Now, the thing is like, I think you're right. I think they rushed it. They needed to make a quick buck off of it.
Yeah.
And they threw away George Lucas. I mean, basically, they were like, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll take your here." And then
Disney.
Word is that they threw it away.
The success of that first one with the Force Awakens, the success of that one. So, what is that? That's 10 years. Okay, so 2005 was the last year for the prequels. That was the last one. So so 2015 is
so 10 years later
10
they
years
have
later.
the
So it took them 10 years to get the next one out. So 2005, I believe, is the year that what's the Revenge of the Sith comes out.
Okay. Yeah.
And then 2015 is when The Force Awakens comes out. And The Force Awakens relied heavily on nostalgia. That's how it became the success that it was. It was not because it was a good movie. It was because of nostalgia. There is so much nostalgia porn in that movie that that I bought into it. This was before nostalgia became, I would argue that this was before nostalgia became a really a regular thing that we see nowadays, right? So
and
everything's based
go
on
into the
now.
bait and switch there.
Okay, so yeah, so the bait and switch is essentially they got us invested
to go. Yeah.
And then because it was rushed, I believe because it was rushed there, because the people involved have made good stories in the past, right?
Yeah.
Because I like J.J. Abrams's what was the Mission Impossible 3. I thought that was a good movie, and then Super 8 I thought was a good movie as well. So he is capable of making good movies. But this wasn't great, and in fact, it kind of shit all over the legacy of Star Wars. But
it started to, and we saw it in the fact that Harrison Ford's Han Solo character is a deadbeat dad, basically. Like he's not with Leia anymore. This weird thing going on where that relationship had fallen apart, and it's just when they go off of nostalgia, it was basically the same story of New Hope. Like, Rey is a orphan that's on a desert planet. They find her, they go and they fight a Death Star that's a bigger, badder Death Star than the original Death Star. Like, and they have secret plans to go destroy it and blow it up. It's all basically the same story. But we can get into the problems with Rey.
Yeah, we'll get there. But what I'm trying to point out the bait and switch. So the bait and switch was we're going to get you to this thing based on your love of something that's previously happened.
Yeah.
And then we're going to inject it with a ton of identity politics. And then now it wasn't bad enough in the first one for me to hate the first one, because when I saw it for the first time, I had bought into the nostalgia, right? I was like, oh man, there's the Millennium Falcon and there's Han Solo. And then I'm leaving the theater and I'm thinking to myself, something was off about the movie. And I liked it. And I wrote a what was it? Review of it years ago. And I thought to myself, something's off. So when it comes back
in their defense, it felt like, and then probably in J.J. Abrams' defense, it did seem like they were setting up for a pretty good next movie.
That's
right.
That's what I was looking forward to. So
yeah.
So because the next two movies were shit, it makes that movie worse. So
and this goes to, like, maybe this is part of them rushing it, but basically they start a story out with the Force Awakens, and then they just did away with everything.
Yeah, it's like a 180. It's like a complete.
They didn't know where they were going. That's the big problem.
No
one knew where this was headed, and I think they just get it out.
This falls squarely
produce, get it out.
Yeah,
and then
this falls squarely on Kathleen Kennedy's. This is her fault.
Yeah.
She wanted she wants a bunch of identity politics kind of pulled into this. Meaning, okay, so there's a natural way to get a character that's female into your movie that is complicated and also awesome. There's a way to do that.
Yeah, and we can get into this. You never watched the series, the Attack of the Clones
No,
or
because
Rebels,
like I
but
said, I kind of checked out
I
after.
love the character Ahsoka. And when the fan haters hate on the fans saying that they're misogynistic because they won't like Rey, I point to Ahsoka because the fans, the male fans loved Ahsoka. Like, and here's the thing: we hated her at first. Like starting out with the Attack of the Clone Wars, she was annoying. I'm just gonna be honest. She was kind of annoying. She was kind of this little bratty character, but she grew, and we watched a progression of growth that helped her grow into this amazing character that we all kind of fell in love with.
That's what people want. Luke in the very first one
same thing.
The same thing. He is annoying. He's kind of bratty. He's kind of complaining. And then he grows. He becomes this great character.
Yeah.
Until we get the newer movies.
Yeah.
The Disney, what are they calling it now? The Disney trilogy with Rey. And Rey starts out as a block of wood. And by the last movie, she's still a block of wood. She is nothing. She has not progressed as a character. She hasn't. What I think what they're calling her progression now is like accepting that I'm awesome. That's a progression. Okay. Sure. Because that's what it is. She starts out awesome. She ends awesome. There's no progression. She's never had a complicated arc. There's nothing there. And that's the block of wood issue with Rey. She is a block of wood. Now, I don't blame the actress because the actress is perfectly fine. She's very pretty and she brings what she needs to bring to this character. But I blame Kathleen Kennedy. I think she wanted to put out a character that could do no wrong. And people don't like those characters. They like characters that have a flaw and then get past the flaw. And I think that's where there's this problem. And you're saying that Ahsoka, and like I said, I haven't watched everything. You probably ingrained yourself in this way more than I ever did. But Ahsoka starts out this annoying character, but she progresses into the most badass, awesome female character that Star Wars has ever had. Well, maybe besides Princess Leia.
Maybe besides Princess Leia, because I mean, and let's be honest, they say that they always kind of crap on some of these newer characters, newer filmmakers. They always kind of crap on the old ones, being that they were like misogynistic in some way or something like that. When I mean, if you go back and like give the devil its due, like watch A New Hope, and like
Princess
some of the
Leia
things that
awesome.
She's awesome. She's like, can somebody get this walking carpet out of my way? Like somebody's got to save us kids. She shoots out the thing and gets them all to go down into the dumpster. Like, I mean, she was awesome, and she was female power in her own right. Like she is going to get tortured by Vader, and she gives them in order to try to save her planet, like she gives them a false base for the rebels. Like,
and that would be the complication of that character, right? So she makes this mistake early on and then makes up for it later in the series, right?
Yeah. It's just they want to
the bait and switch
on the
is
old
still,
and that's the bait and switch. Yeah.
So they bring you in for the nostalgia of this franchise that okay, so it's probably one of the most famous franchises in the world. It is the most famous franchise in the world. And I don't know how much more goodwill that they have. I don't know if they got any, because
I'm to the point where I feel like I almost feel like we need to boycott it all.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, let's look at the track record, right? Okay, so they take the Rey series and they ruin Han, they ruin Luke.
Luke is this. Luke, they did Luke bad. Luke was a great character that they shit all over, and he doesn't get a redemptive story. They just shit on him,
and they try to make a redemptive story for Leia, but I feel like they ruined Leia too. Like I feel like they dropped the bag on her as well.
Well, and the Force powers don't make any sense anymore, right?
Oh yeah,
Rey
they keep coming out with all these things, and they're just like,
Rey, I don't know, heals somebody in
Force healing.
Force healing.
It always really was the priesthood. We knew it all along. Force healing.
The first 3 movies didn't have force healing in them. Like Luke loses his hand. Why didn't he just like?
Sure, I think when it comes to levels of things that they effed up on, I think force healing is pretty far down the
line.
The
I don't
list.
know. They got stupid. There's an argument to be made that the first original trilogies were dumb, but the Ewoks were dumb. They had their dumb moments, but overall they did a really fine job with what they had. And George Lucas, say what you want to say about his later work, he did a great job with his earlier work. And
I love the Clone Wars, and that was to my understanding that was kind of a Dave Filoni ran
it was his baby.
Process. But he did it kind of, he would almost in a sense sit at the knee of George Lucas, and George Lucas was kind of walking him through the story and things like that. And he would go to George Lucas when he was creating the story, and they would kind of go back and forth, and George Lucas would try to guide him. He was in a sense, he was kind of a protege of George Lucas.
Yeah.
And I think that had, in a perfect world, I think if Dave Filoni had the stops all pulled out and him allowed to kind of spearhead. Now, I mean, there's been stuff that he's made since that has been filled with identity politics and things like that. So
do you think that's him, or do you think that's Kathleen Kennedy pushing it?
I don't know. I don't know if he's kind of been bought into. The thing is like, he made Ahsoka great, right? He's kind of the one that pushed and got Ahsoka to be great, right? Well, we're right now looking at an Ahsoka series coming.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to ruin it. I just don't foresee that they're going to do right by this character.
So for me, they bought back a little goodwill with the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So the first season of Mandalorian, I absolutely loved. I thought it was excellently done. It was excellently executed. It probably had its moments of stupidity, because it's Star Wars after all, but it still was firing on all cylinders. Now,
yeah,
I jumped the shark on the series when the Book of Boba Fett came out. And I can tell you the exact moment. There's a group of a biker gang that show up in the Book of Boba Fett. They are Gen Zers to the extreme. They're annoying, they're disrespectful, and I hate them. And I hate that series because it pushed that so heavily. And talk about the bait and switch. This is a series about a character that is barely in most of the series. They even have
Boba Fett made an appearance in his own series.
In his own series. Now, granted, this was about a character that barely showed up in the original Star Wars. So they're again, it's this bait and switch. You have nostalgia for this character from a previous era of these movies that we're going to do an entire show of. It's nostalgia. They're getting us with nostalgia. And then the bait and switch is, oh, by the way, this isn't really about him. It's about his hench lady, whatever her name is. And it's about the Mandalorian, because the Mandalorian shows up in one of the episodes and they don't even have Boba Fett in his own movie. Like literally
in his own series.
There's an entire episode that's just about the Mandalorian. And I'm sitting there going, what are we doing?
Yeah. Like, what's going on here?
What's going on?
And it's the same with Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, I didn't even bother watching that, Michael. I didn't even bother.
I couldn't stand the fact complete bait and switch. Like, hey guys, here's this favorite character. It's a show about him. Or is it? Okay, he's in it a little bit, and okay, they have a fight scene with him and Vader that's actually kind of cool. That's about it. Basically, it's Leia and the another gal character that's turned to the dark side and then turns back to being good and blah blah blah.
It has Leia in it.
Leia is a little girl.
Oh, Princess Leia. Okay,
Princess Leia, and it's kind of anyway. It's kind of dumb. Like she does no wrong, and she's always correcting Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's really dumb and doesn't know what he's doing, and she's always like telling anyway.
What are they saying? They're again, it goes back to this, like, we don't believe that the previous thing was worthy, and so now we're going to tear it down.
Yeah. And I mean, they even it could have been so good. That's the thing. Like, it could have been so good.
I think we're lamenting the potential.
Oh yeah, 100%. We look when you started watching Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
right?
It was all potential.
There was so much potential, and you're just like, wow, this is gonna be amazing, right? And then it's like, wah. And same with next to Ahsoka, Obi-Wan is my favorite character.
Yeah.
Okay. So it probably goes Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Luke for me in my how I love the love that I have for characters is probably that. That's my top three, right? Obi-Wan being at the top. I loved how they built his character, and they built in some really, really cool things and nuances. And I loved it in the Clone Wars, as well as in Rebels. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite, in fact, my boy was just asking me this, who my favorite bad guy was. And Maul is my favorite bad guy. And Maul and Obi-Wan
Darth
Maul. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Darth Maul, throughout the Clone Wars and in Rebels, Maul and Obi-Wan are kind of always antagonists or protagonist antagonists.
So they found a way to bring him back after the death in Phantom Menace.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're missing so much. Maul becomes my favorite bad guy. Oh,
who was the lady in one of the Clone Wars? She was a bald lady.
What was her name? Ventress something.
I always thought she was a fascinating villain.
She's great too. Like, and she, you see a progression. She gets betrayed by the Sith, and it becomes, she kind of becomes just a dark Jedi kind of thing, a dark Force wielder, so to speak. And I would love to see more of her, and which we may get, since she's a female character, I'm sure they'll bring her back.
With the bait and switch, you can't have female characters as villains anymore. You're going to only have them as.
She'd be an anti-hero. If they brought her back, she'd be
an
a hero that kind of is a hero, but it will also kind of just do things.
Well, it's like that character. Who's the character in the Obi-Wan series that I've heard so much about?
Yeah.
Now, is she a good character or is she a bad guy?
No. Well, she is a bad guy that kind of goes back to being a good. Anyway, it's a kind of a. They tried to make her character really, really interesting, but I don't think they couldn't get past the fact that they were making her character or they were at least trying to make her character the most interesting character in a series about Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it was that bait and switch so strong. The bait and switch was strong with this one.
Yeah.
Like the bait and switch was so strong that people could see it and it pissed them off. Well, I think that's really what was going on there.
People want it to feel organic, right? They don't want these characters to come in and sideline all the other the main character unless it's organic. But that's where this bait and switch comes in. You know, you're doing this to appease an identity politic. Yeah. And we can see it. We can see it happening. Your identity politics is showing. So
and there were plenty of episodes where Ahsoka would like save the day and things like that.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's organic.
They did it. I don't know. They did it organically. They did it tastefully. Like it wasn't at the expense of the male characters, you know. Oh goodness. Let's get me started on the Ahsoka trailer. But the Ahsoka trailer, so funny because it's halfway through the trailer before you even see a man. And all men be bad.
And they're all bad guys.
The only men in the trailer are bad guys.
If nowadays you want a twist ending, you would have the male guy, the straight white male
actually turn out to be a good guy.
Actually turned out to be a good guy.
There's the twist. Oh,
there's the twist. Oh no.
No, you couldn't do that. You can't do that. No. And here I wanted to say this. I can't stand this about what they will probably do to Ahsoka. And here's why. Listen, guys, you have everything you want in the character of Ahsoka. Strong female character. They got a African-American actress, which she's great. I loved her in she's in Daredevil. She plays Claire in Daredevil. Love her, right? I love the actress.
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, and they've got everything that you could possibly, that the identity politics could possibly want. I still think they're going to ruin it because it's not just good enough for that to just be it. They're gonna have to have a man in there that's incompetent and dumb, and they're gonna have to make it evil. All about girl boss. It's all gonna be about. I'm like, guys, it's so heavy-handed that everybody sees it for what it is. You don't have to be so heavy-handed, especially when you're making a series about Ahsoka. The fans already love her. Okay, just make a good show. That's all you need to do. That's it. Just make it good. Just make it
The trailer
captivating, right?
Didn't inspire anything of me.
What's that?
The trailer didn't inspire anything of me. Like, I'm looking at the trailer going, oh, identity politics, identity politics, identity politics.
Yeah.
I think they're going to fuck it up.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I think it's gonna I believe the bait and switch will be very, very strong, which is gonna be that
we're gonna take this character you love, the
character
the nostalgia.
that you love.
Then we're gonna grab the nostalgia, and then we're gonna throw a bunch of woke identity politics on it.
Yeah,
and it's going to suck.
I
would avoid it. I would try to avoid it.
I think I'm gonna vote with my eyes. I think I'm gonna vote with my eyes and vote with my dollars, because here's the thing. So Super Mario Brothers just came out and it's done really well at the box office. You know, John Wick did really well at the box office. Maverick, Top Gun Maverick did really well. I think the only way for us to fight back on this is to vote with our dollars and vote with our eyeballs. I have decided to quit stopping to stop watching Mandalorian. I'm just going cold turkey. Me and my kids used to love watching it, but I'm just going to go cold turkey on it and not watch it anymore.
I haven't even seen any of the new season.
Well, stay away, because you're not missing anything, right?
Well, I asked horrible. My kids even. So the last that they saw of the Mandalorian was him giving Baby Yoda up to Luke Skywalker. That was the end. Yeah. And I said to him recently, I said, hey, the new season of Mandalorian came out. And my oldest was like, kind of like, didn't care. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay. I'm not into it either. Like, at first I was going to go watch it, and then I looked a bunch of stuff about it online, and I found out that it's more of the same. It's more of the bait and switch. It's more, we're bringing you in because we've gotten goodwill from you from this first season.
From these other seasons.
Yeah. Yep. And we're going to bring you in, and we're going to.
Oh, turns out it's not really about Din Djarin. It turns out it's about a female character. It's like, okay, cool. I mean, I don't see why they didn't just didn't make a Bo-Katan series
of her own.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Like, why make The Mandalorian, which was about Din Djarin, why bait and switch it to where it's really about the female character? I just don't get it. And this is why I say, like, guys, you've got everything you want in the Ahsoka character in that series. If you F this up, I just don't see where there's going to be any goodwill to do anything more with the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And not have everybody just hate you. Because, I mean, let's be honest, they've been turning out crap after crap after crap for, I mean, we're talking a long time here. And we just got it announced at the Star Wars convention celebration, I think that's what they called it.
Yeah, they call it a celebration.
It's they're more doing like another race series.
Commemorization.
They're doing another race series that no one wants.
Because that character is, like I said, it's a block of wood. That character is a block of wood that they have not done anything with.
They're doubling down. They're doubling down. And this is probably, okay, so my guess is I'm not going to see it. I'm going to vote with my dollars and say, nope, not doing it. Not going to see this. But I think what they're doing is, okay, we had this strong female character. We kind of effed it up. We got to fix this because the strong female character can't lose. So we have to bring in another series that they're going to do, which let's see if they actually do it, because they keep announcing
projects and then
if we had $1 for every time they announced the project and then it got canned.
Rogue Squadron was supposed to be out this year, I think. and that got put on the back burner. They've announced a lot of movies.
Too many male characters. It wasn't going to work.
They've announced a lot of projects that have not come to fruition, and I believe it's so everything's kind of a mess over at Disney.
And I think it's because of lack of leadership. Yeah.
There's a huge lack of leadership because Bob Iger retires. Bob Chapek comes in. Bob Chapek lasts I think 2 years, if even that, 2 years. And then they fire him and they bring in Bob Iger back. And this guy is the guy that started all this bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
So Disney Plus has only been around since COVID. It started mid-COVID. That's how they got all their eyeballs on it. And then it was a mad dash to try to make as much as possible to justify people watching, paying premium for a streaming service. And just this last year, they lost 31%, according to the Daily Mail. Daily Mail did a few months back about losing 31% of their, I think their stocks went down 31%, which is saying something, right? It's saying, okay, there's a streaming service that's not doing as well as they want. They're spending a lot of money to do these series on the streaming service, but because they're injecting it with all the stuff that people don't want in their lives, I think people are checking out. People are just going, oh, hey, I'm done. The Marvel series is not doing what it used to do. So I think people are just checking out, and hopefully that continues to happen, because I'm not watching any more Star Wars stuff. I'll watch the old stuff, and that's the reason I keep Disney Plus, is for all the old stuff, because I'm not watching their new shit. I'm just I'm checking out.
Yeah, and I've been watching The Bad Batch, but which I felt like the first season of The Bad Batch was good too. But like I haven't really been very impressed with their new season either. So it's still, it goes back to like that bait and switch. It's like have a good season. Because the Bad Batch I thought like was interesting. Like they had some clones that they're just a little bit different than the rest of the clones. Yeah. And they go into some really, in fact, the last episode that I watched of The Bad Batch was about the character Crosshair, and I found it interesting. Right. It's got some nuance in it. It's got some deep thought processes of like what's going on with the clones after the war, right? Now it's like what do all these clones do? And some of them are like becoming homeless, and they don't have a war to fight, and so they're soldiers. That's what they are. Yeah. And so there's some really interesting stuff. Yeah. And if they can kind of keep going with it, but that's the thing, is like the ideology eventually comes for everything. And that if they keep this up, it will hold no prisoners. It will kill everything that we love.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it is, I guess, right? I guess that's what, I mean, they've done it. Is that what cults do? Isn't that what cults do?
Is kind of ruin everything, take out the
kind of kill everything that we love. Right? Isn't this a movement that's happening? That's just a movement that's going to kill everything that we love. I think Back to the Future is the only big 80s genre that they haven't come after, which I'm sure give it time. I'm sure that they're going to come after that as well.
This speaks to a bigger problem with the creative decay in Hollywood, because there's nothing new. They're not making new things. They're relying on old stuff to make new stuff. You could do it with everything. Ghostbusters, Game of Thrones. The Game of Thrones, they just had the series House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I heard that was pretty good though, actually.
It's pretty good,
okay.
But I mean, I was disappointed with the last season of Game of Thrones too. So what they're doing, what they've done is they're just not taking anything, they're not bringing anything new to everything's a sequel, everything's something that's built on something else. And I guess we're on
fast 10. Fast and the Furious 10. Okay. Now, I mean, I haven't really watched a bunch of them, so I don't really know. I love the Mission Impossibles, but you're right. There's something where they won't take risks on new stuff. I mean, maybe you could say Dungeons and Dragons might be new, and
that's
Mario
been around
Brothers
since the 70s.
That was a 70s you're right. Thing. You're right. Like they're just taking something that they know they can make money on. So and this is becoming
they're after the
new
built-in
MO
fan base
for Hollywood.
Yeah, they're after the built-in fan base. We need a built-in fan base.
We need
spend
something.
This money.
If we make something, we're going to do it with a built-in fan base already, so that we can be sure to make money on it, right? And that kind of is going to kind of go into. One thing that I wanted to talk about, which was I feel like, a lot of this can be held at the feet of wanting to do something to an ideology, to identity politics, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I also feel like this is a removal of a meritocracy, right? In our filmmaking, we've stopped holding up some people with merit are the ones who should make it, and being that people with merit are just part of the patriarchy, and so you bring down that merit. People who should be making these movies are people who have worked hard and built something that so when we move away from a meritocracy, we're going to get
mediocrity.
Yeah, we're gonna get movies. I mean, like, how much money went into the 3 Rey movies, the 3 Rey Star Wars trilogy?
Each one was like over 150 million at least.
Something crazy, right?
Like that.
Yeah. Well, but they never like got everyone in a room and hashed out exactly where everything was going. No one knew how this ended, right? They J.J. Abrams did the first one, and then what's his name? Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson does the second one.
Destroyer of franchises.
Totally just moves everything around. And okay, he had his idea of like wanting to subvert everybody's expectations, whatever. Okay, but then you get J.J. Abrams that has to come back in and like undo everything that was done in come on, guys.
What a mess.
The meritocracy has to come back. We have to, and that's why I say vote with your dollars, because if we can vote with our dollars to bring back a meritocracy. I went and I took all my kids to go see, and I actually kind of looked it up, and I heard from several places that Mario Brothers was fairly identity politics free, and it was, and I loved it, and I'm so glad that I took all my children to go see it. Like it was so much fun.
You paid money to go see it, and you're basically saying this: we want more of this and less of this.
Yes.
Which, by the way, Super Mario Brothers is based off of a game. It's like, can we not have new stuff? Can we just, like, all the movies of the 80s? Indiana Jones was derivative of other things, but it was its own thing.
Yeah.
So where do we go when they have destroyed the nostalgia?
When they've got nothing nothing left of the 80s to ruin.
Yeah, nothing left of the 80s to ruin, because guaranteed this new Indiana Jones looks so
good. Yeah.
I am not excited for it. I will not see it in theaters unless something I see just changes my mind. I have not, every single trailer they put out looks worse than the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not good, but
you're right. We need to get back to
think
meritocracy. We need to stop hiring people based on their politics or their identity
and
start hiring people who are competent.
Like, are they competent in this? Right. I think that's where we fix this, where we help fix it is voting with our dollars, so that the higher ups will get the message that these things don't make money, and therefore we should stop making them.
Stopping, yeah.
I would hope so. And I think we're getting that pushback. I think it's coming. I think
it's coming.
It's tough because, like, I watched a interview or a podcast where Tim Pool was talking about it a little bit, and he's right. They're basically, when they're making something, the stuff that we're seeing come out now, and then there's stuff that there's coming out in the future, is like 3 to 5 years in the making, right? Yeah. So the future, it's going to be kind of a slow process,
but hopefully it course corrects.
But hopefully it course corrects, yes. So
we need to stop sacrificing a meritocracy for mediocrity.
Yeah.
At the altar of mediocrity. That's really what we need to stop doing.
Or at the altar of identity politics.
Because that's what leads to mediocrity, right? When you're trying not to offend anybody, when you become this thing that nobody likes, right? If you're trying so hard not to offend anybody, then it just becomes this blah. Like, somebody's gonna find offense with something. We're people. We're we're a nation of 328 million people, and
and if you want to sell the message, I love when the drinker, when he says, selling the message, which is basically the identity politics. But when you're trying to sell the message, do it with merit, do it with a meritocracy, because guess what, it's more palatable, and we'll probably be more open to it if it is palatable. Because I mean, and some people will use this as an example, but Arcane, the main character in Arcane, is gay. She's a lesbian in it.
Oh, the Netflix show.
It's a Netflix Arcane. Yeah. And it's and to be honest, I liked it. I thought it was good. It was entertaining. Like, I was involved. I was invested.
The characters are complicated and have
characters complicated.
Arcs.
She wasn't a boss babe at the expense of men. In fact, that did show some strong male characters, which was great. Right. I mean, it kind of, I think it did everything that the left wants to have happen. And I think it did it in a way that was kind of tasteful. I'm just being honest. I liked it, and I would watch another series or another season. Right. I'd tune in for that.
Yeah. It's a beautiful looking show too. It's gorgeous.
Oh, looking. The artwork and everything is just, it's really amazing. And I think this goes back to meritocracy. Like, the people that made that show
were competent.
They were competent. They got together and they knew where it was going. Like, there's processes to make this stuff work, right?
Yeah.
And be competent about it. And stop playing. And that's why I say we'll eat what they send us for Ahsoka if they just do it right.
Yeah.
Like earn our merit, it's just merit it,
Well, yeah.
Earn these eyeballs, right?
Yeah, earn it. Well, and they need to stop playing off of nostalgia at this point. Like they're using up all of the goodwill that we have towards them, in my mind.
Eventually, the bait and switch will stop working.
Yeah, it will.
That's
that's what we're seeing. The numbers on Mandalorian 3 season 3 are way down.
Yeah,
and I think it's because of Book of Boba Fett. I think people watched that and knew that it was shit. And then they watched Obi-Wan Kenobi and they're like, this is shit. And then they're like, I'm not going back to, and I've heard that Endor is actually good, but I'm not checking it out. I don't know if I have the will or the time.
Yeah.
Because at this point, my time is precious. And if I feel like I'm being pandered to, or if I feel like there's a ton of woke identity politics that's involved, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah.
I mean, I even watched all of the House of the Dragon, and there's things in that I completely disagree with. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of incestuous shit in it. There's the way that they portray motherhood is horrible, but I still watch the entire thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
They got to stop playing off the nostalgia. They got to find something new. But they're going to beat this dead horse, I think, into the ground. And maybe there's a way to fix it, but I don't think there is. I don't think it's not happening.
I think the pushback is going to start coming. Critical Drinker and a bunch of his cohorts,
Nerdrotic
and they talk on one of their episodes where they got all of them. What do they call it?
Their
after
Friday
hours.
Yeah, after hours or Friday
after
night
hours.
Tights.
Drinkers after hours. Anyways, they talked a little bit about how, some of these things kind of genres sometimes come in phases. So like the Marvel superhero genres, they think is kind of on its way to peter out.
Yeah.
And kind of like the Westerns back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
There was a ton where it started to peter out. Yeah. They still would have a Western every so often that did well, but it started to peter out as a genre. And we might kind of see that. And hopefully when we see that switch to something new, hopefully we will start to see
good stuff.
Kind of good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something where the meritocracy comes back, where we have people who actually are competent in making these movies all come together, these shows all come together.
I think with the release of I think we'll look back on this and we'll go the release of She-Hulk on Disney Plus was the first nail in the coffin of Marvel. And I think we'll look back on Boba Fett as the first nail in the coffin on Star Wars. I think
maybe so you think it started with the Rey series and then it would be
well, that could
Book
be
of Boba Fett would be the nail in the coffin somewhere.
Yeah, down the road. So let's bring this one home, brother.
Yep.
I think we've said our piece. So what are our socials there?
We got at Brothers V Random on Twitter. We're at the Brothers Random on Instagram. At the Brothers Random on, you can look us up on YouTube as well as Rumble.
We also have episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for the Sword and the Skull logo. I don't think we we solved much, but we sure talked it out. So I love Star Wars. I know you love Star Wars, or at least we loved it at one point. And I think voting with our dollars and our eyeballs is the only answer at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, keep listening, keep reading, keep watching, learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See you, brother.